Boom, we're live, pre-recorded today, and some of you asked if I would maybe take up the sloth speed instead of my almost relentless jaguar speed at speaking. Now, I want to dive in and take a beginner's look at what Ripple and XRP is. So with that in mind, I think the best way to do that is to actually just read someone else's thoughts. That way I can try to remove my opinion. And then after this, I'm going to do a video about the 5 big reasons of why I think Ripple will not be successful, or at least 5 of the main hurdles that it has to overcome before it can see any type of large-scale success. Now, on the first here, we're reading from Business Insider, so for those of you that are interested, I will leave this link below. Cryptocurrency XRP is known as Ripple, but it's not. It's actually confused with the company Ripple Labs that created it. Ripple now owns 60% of all the XRP in circulation. Again, I have known about this token for quite some time. My friend Ryan Fugger helped develop it back in early 2004 or something like this. So at that time, it was much higher, which is where I got my number from originally. So excuse me, it's changed, as all things do. Ripple uses XRP in only one of its products, which will be important to note later, because the majority of all of the partnerships that they have don't actually need XRP. And a lot of the speculation and price has come from the fact that people think that these large banks are already signing up to adopt the XRapid platform, and they're not, because it really is only suitable for emerging market transitions where it saves them more money. Whereas their current Ripple protocol, which does not use XRP, is actually just as efficient for them, and they don't need that token at all. So XRP is actually better suited for emerging market transfers, not regular fiat transfers. Good, important to keep in mind. So again, that was this one right here. And here's everything that you need to know about how XRP and Ripple are linked. So let's scroll down here to what is XRP? So the XRP is a payment protocol and cryptocurrency that is finely tuned for transactions, Marcus Treacher, Ripple's global head of strategic accounts, says. Again, the earlier version of XRP dates back to 2004 when it was first created by developer Ryan Fugger, a friend of mine, and someone who's actually also working on a new decentralized distributed ledger, interledger protocol. So XRP was designed to allow money to be sent digitally, and it's meant to be an upgrade on the first generation of cryptocurrencies, which they're saying here they suffer from, but it's just a different payment layer. So I'm not going to read that. We'll skip over that. Unimportant as far as I'm concerned. What is Ripple Labs? Was founded in 2012 to develop the XRP and current Ripple protocol. Again, XRP and the Ripple protocol are different in different suites that they offer to the banks. Again, the majority of these partnerships that they found have nothing to do with XRP. So they were originally opened up and called One Open Coin to develop Ryan Fugger's Ripple network concept, and 100 billion XRP tokens were issued to run the protocol and power it. Open Coin changed its name to Ripple Labs in 2015 and made the Ripple network code open source, meaning anyone could work on it. Ripple Labs remained the major contributor to the code as they continued. Well, the people behind XRP and Ripple are the same. The company obviously insists that the source of the nature and the fact that XRP can be publicly bought and sold, that means that the company is not behind it, merely tangentially linked. But when you own that much of the currency, it would seem to refute that evidence, although they have put some of that in escrow because they got a lot of blowback from the communities that are obviously in this space for decentralization, and now they currently release around 1 billion tokens per month, which they can sell. It's a large amount, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. It's part of one of our creations, and we're proud of it, but it's obviously separate from the company. Treacher told us, we are trying to reinforce the fact that Ripple, the company, and the XRP currency are different. We pointed out that it's confusing to both have the company and the asset and logo names the same, and Treacher said that he doesn't accept that, and Ripple isn't considering changing its name to a different company. So who owns XRP? This brings us back to what I was saying on yesterday's video. Quite a small little adjustment here. Ripple owns 61 billion of the 100 billion current outstanding tokens in circulation, which means they own 61% of all the tokens. The company's holding was valued at just around 50 billion. This article was written not very long ago. Obviously, as we can see, the price of Ripple has gone down, lost half of that market value price. So Ripple's domination of XRP has drawn criticism from more of the cryptocurrency community, as those of us that were attracted by the promise of decentralization and the lack of central authority controlling this space. So in response, that is when Ripple placed 55 billion of its current XRP holdings into escrow. So again, They own 61% of all the XRP tokens. When they first set out at its user discretion, they didn't actually use all of those tokens, so they were then placed back into escrow. So Matty Greenspan, it's hard to see that Greenspan name come up regardless of who the first name is. An analyst with the trading platform at eToro said that a $1 billion a month supply, that's a lot, and obviously a potentiality to throw out the market at any given moment. So what does Ripple use XRP for? And this is important as well. Ripple initially wanted the business to use XRP on the Ripple network to send and receive global payments, but Treacher told us that the sheer size of the global payment industry and the issues around data protection meant that XRP on its own was not appropriate. We then kind of rethought things out about 2 years ago and decided, well, to do this, we're going to create the interconnection solution using the cryptography of blockchain. The solution is called Xcurrent. It is built on another open source platform developed by Ripple called the Interledger. Again, this is one of the things that Ryan Fugger helped develop. It's a fantastic idea, really. It's a fantastic idea. It allows different payment networks can plug into each other and allow them to send money all over the world securely and quickly. Xcurrent is fine-tuned for this internet model where banks can pay each other in adequate secrecy and not copy and paste it all over the world. We're creating a natural model that's worked before over the internet and overlying it with technology like cryptography. This is the big difference, and we can shift value in the internet model this way, which was impossible. Xcurrent was one of the 3 products offered by Ripple, and the 2 other are XRapid, which is a liquidity solution, and XVia, which allows people to send payments and data linked with invoices. XRapid is the only one of these products that use XRP as a method of payment that makes liquidity much more efficient by placing the liquidity on the target's accounts just in time for the payments to be able to take place over the interledger model. For example, if you're making a payment from USA to Argentina, again, XRapid is developed for emerging markets, not necessarily for USD to GBP, because it doesn't have the same use case. Again, that's why they're saying to Argentina here, and we'll show other sources for that. Please check out the links down below. Give us those thumbs up if you like this content. We're going slow as the sloth today for all of you, so that hopefully we can have a balance. Maybe this one you'll have to speed up instead of slow down. So these party transfers can take place between the banks in Argentina in seconds. This account in Argentina pesos, you really want to be topped up with when required very effectively and not have a lot of money just sitting there on the account to cover the local payments as they are being made. So XRP is being used as a method for topping up those accounts. So which businesses currently use XRP? So Xcurrent is in production and according to Treacher with millions of dollars moving across the networks each day. But XRapid, which it just went live, volumes are significantly smaller and less firms are actually experimenting with it. So again, remember, Xcurrent, the protocol that most of the banks have signed on to use, doesn't actually use XRP at all, and it will never do that. So XRP's price speculation has actually gotten mixed up in the storyline here, which is, again, extremely important to pay attention to. So Treacher says the feedback from the pilots have been very good so far, and that the idea is that once XRapid launches, they'll try to convince the companies that are using Xcurrent to actually use XRapid as their liquidity solution as well. Classic cross-sell. Now, part of the underlying problem here is that in 2008, the liquidity freeze and the global financial crisis that would have taken place required the mass printing of money to bail out failing banks. Now, banks were failing. Why? Well, because their business model is flawed. So at its core, Ripple is relying on a flawed business model to build on top of. So in my mind, it doesn't seem all that credible. If we have the same problem that we had in 2008, what value does this interledger protocol have? Especially when you see companies like R3 and Corda, which are in fact already being used by the World Bank, some of the largest global banks on the planet, again, leaving Ripple in the dust for actual bank adoption. Again, so if you want, research R3 and Corda. They're the ones that have taken the lead in this space. Again, you don't hear anything about them because you can't buy their coin. It's actually an interbank protocol they've designed and they've built and they've invested. It's raised some $100 and something million. But we'll get into that one on the next one for the video of why we think Ripple might be under the chopping block and likely to not be successful. Again, but that's all conjecture. We'll continue to move on without my opinion. Treacher says the feedback from the pilots have been very good, right? So one of our potential hurdles from widespread adoption of XRP as a liquidity solution is the volatility of the price. XRP had fallen 25% against the dollar just in the last month, for example. So Ripple argues that the fast settlement times over the XRP protocol means that companies will have minimal exposure, meaning they don't want to hodl the tokens. They want to get in and get out of XRP as quickly as possible, making it more of a hot potato because of its volatility. eToro's Greenspan then said the minimum transaction fee for Ripple is around 0.001 XRP, a fraction of a penny, and it could go up just 100 times. I don't think that the volatility of XRP is going to prevent banks from necessarily using it, but it's obviously something to pay attention to. So will Ripple always use XRP? It says given that Ripple and XRP entirely separate, this is where they get their funding from. So yes, they'll use it to sell it to pay for whatever else they're going to be building. It's just an early stage. It's not clear that Ripple will offer a product that always involves XRP. So what if those trailing it decide not to take it up? Treacher was circumspect when I asked this question in one form or another, and he responded with, "It's very important to keep your true north," he said. "There will be communities that value different parts of what Ripple does, and we get that." Clearly, though, our vision is the whole of things coming together, but if certain groups or organizations are much more focused on liquidity angle that XRP offers focus, then that's absolutely fine. The interledger protocol that connects perfectly well into any of the blockchain and any asset. It doesn't only work with XRP, but it's very open. If you're trying to create a solution for the global payment problem, you can't be closed. Again, the problem here is that the global payment problem has even deeper underlying infrastructure problems, which is why we saw liquidity freeze-ups in 2008 and the bailing out of major banks, because they're failed and flawed business models. Why would you want to build on top of that? That's my question. So he says, obviously we care about this currency. Well, of course you do. It's your payment. It's how you get paid every month. It's part of our vision. Yeah, it's because you get paid every month by that. And in doing so, we're carefully make sure it's freely accessible. Yeah, because you want to be able to trade it for dollars because that's how you pay people like that. So here's the next question. Does Ripple influence XRP's price? Although Treacher insists Ripple's escrow arrangement means Ripples can't influence XRP's price directly. Okay, you can sell 1 billion tokens every month? Or, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm not going to agree with that. He says, however, Ripple's activities appear to indirectly affect the price of XRP because many investors view the cryptocurrency as a proxy for the company. Aha, one of those underlying problems. Greenspan said, I've been battling this with the perception for the part of the last few months. A lot of newcomers are under the understanding that holding onto XRP tokens is somewhat similar to holding onto shares in the Ripple Labs, obviously, which is completely false, as in any of these. XRP rallied on the news that Ripple had struck a deal with the International Money Transfer Business UAE exchange program. For example, despite the fact that it is in no way related to the XRapid or XRP token, it only uses XCurrent rather. So a lot of the deals that they've been doing and the payment channels that they've set up at the end of the day are never going to use the XRP token. Again, this is a big differentiation that is not readily available. I mean, here we are on Business Insider, we can find it, right? But this is one of the big downfalls. A lot of the interledger protocol that they've created doesn't need the token at all. They're using it as a funding vehicle. A lot of the same ways a lot of the ICOs are using these as funding vehicles to build their company at first. Right, the token, who knows what happens to the token's price? It's a funding mechanism. So Treacher said, as we're successful, clearly a lot of people, and again, this could be the reason why the SEC might find them on the chopping block. And this Ripple is not friends with the banks. Like, we have to remember, R3 and Corda is way further ahead in terms of adoption in the banking sector for the interledger protocol idea. So Ripple is not in the lead right now, if in case anyone is wondering. But they don't have a token because R3 and Corda is an interbank ledger protocol. They don't need a token. It's something completely different. Again, one of the dangers to this. So Treacher then said, as we're successful, though, clearly a lot of people follow Ripple, and I think we're doing some interesting things, groundbreaking stuff, really. But as that's happening, people are clearly watching what we're doing and making decisions about how the world is playing out. We can't stop speculation. We want to be agnostic, and we don't want to encourage or discourage. We just want to do our job and build our network. He added, I understand that why people look at what we're doing and look at the currency and make that connection, but we really do try to make clear that the Ripple company and XRP currency system are very, very different. So how should we then think about Ripple's relationship to XRP? XRP is bigger than Ripple, they say. I would tend to disagree here because what would the value be of either of those companies if the underlying infrastructure is flawed itself? It would be like, it's the same way we don't use telephone wires to run the internet anymore. It's like, okay, well, that underlying infrastructure is going to be replaced. So what's the value of installing the slower telephone lines? Anyways, food for thought. One way to think of XRP is like a digital railway, and we're doing our best to build trains so people can make money and profit from the network that we've created. We're trying to build something that's very open. So that's a fun start, right? So there we go. We've hammered through the beginning ideas of what XRP is and the difference between Ripple. I think, let's see, where are we at? I don't know. Oh, we're at 15 minutes. Yeah, that was just perfect. We're going to leave it there for the rest of the day. We have one more that we're going to go over, and it's actually reading from Hacker Noon of the 5 alarming reasons why Ripple is not what you think. And some of the big reasons why, especially with R3, here we go. XRP is not a disruptive technology. I'll leave this in at the end because this is what I'm interested in. R3 is doing the exact same thing as Ripple. They've raised $107 million from venture capitalists, which means so they're doing quite good. And they're currently in 70 of the world's largest banks already. And the reason you haven't heard of them is simply because they're doing it without their own coin. There we go. So R3 is significantly further ahead than Ripple. We'll leave it at that. If you like this content, give us those thumbs up. If you're new to the Bear family, subscribe. If you don't like what we're doing, hey, tell us. We're not going to respond to you kindly necessarily because a lot of the XRP fanboys just like to throw fire out in the air. Whereas all it would have taken, this is a simple link. Okay, so they own 61%, not 80. Excuse me, a little typographical error. Anyways, I'm signing off for the rest of the day until I do that video about the alarming reasons why Ripple might be taken out here, especially because R3 is kind of leaving them in the dust. And I know that for a fact because I have friends that work in the World Bank, and they're doing massive infrastructure building in Africa with R3 and Corda. Again, remembering that this is where the new, I guess, the new adoption is going to come from anyways. We'll see you guys on the other side. Hope you've enjoyed the sloth speed today. Catch you later.